Hi, in this video we're going to walk you through some of the checkpoints and activities in Unit 3.3. So the topic here is helper functions, and the big idea here is to extend off what we're already familiar with, the idea of creating repeatable or reusable code by dropping it into a function definition. The big idea here is that these 3 lines of code will execute now every time you type the word draw stars. Now the business about parentheses is important. I'm hoping that you all understand that there's a list of items in the parentheses here that will match 1 to 1. So when we call draw stars, whatever items you put in parentheses here will be stored as values for this variables that are in this list. Alright, so with this function, it only runs once and we get 1 set of stars. But if we wanted to repeat an action over and over again, like exactly what a function does, that was part of yet another function, the big idea here is that we can do that easily. So that functionality is just part of the way functions work. So let's examine this program. First of all, I know you see 11 or 10 lines of code, but really, as far as the computer is concerned, there is only one executable line of code in this program, because all the other stuff here is just function definitions. So when you, the computer, start running this program, you'll see the word def, and you'll maybe make like a post-it note for yourself that there's a word draw stars that is not a legal command in Python, but it is a function that the user created. You'll also make a note that there's a function called draw message. So whenever you come across either one of those 2 words, execution will then jump to this function, whichever one you called. So line 10, we're calling the draw message function and we're sending in the word way to go. And that will be stored when we actually run the run the function. The word way to go will be stored right there in message. So what does draw message do? It does 2 things. It draws a label and it's going to say way to go, and it's going to be centered there and size 30 and bold font. But then right after that, it's going to call the draw stars method. So draw stars is yet its own function that's going to draw the stars. Now remember, these are staggered. Remember the way this looks here? So there's a blue star sort of right above to the left. There's a gold star straight up above, and there's a green star over and to the right. So if I run this, it's the same program as before, but we had 2 different functions to do these things. So one function took care of initiating the whole process of drawing this, but then that process itself was split up into 2 distinct subtasks, you might call them. First the label, and then the stars. So if you think of a helper function as just a chunk of code that allows you to break up a complex task into smaller, repeatable tasks, then you're thinking the right way. So as you know, functions have parameters. So the parameters are the information that's in the parentheses that get passed along. So in the case of functions calling other functions, we need to send down the line all of the information that that function needs. So let's examine this one carefully. There's a variation here that it's important to understand. So the executable code here starts at line 11, and line 12 is just another function call. So in this program, we're calling the draw message function twice. But what's different here is instead of just having 1 parameter, like before in the code, the draw message function took 1 bit of information. Now in draw message, we're sending it 3 bits of information. So these other 2, as you would guess, are going to be the center of where this should be drawn. So, like before, we're sending those bits of information into draw message. There they are. We're drawing the label. That's the same, but instead of hard coding this at a specific location, like before, we had it always going to the center of the screen, 200, 200. Now we're going to specify wherever we want to put it every time we call the function. So here it's going to be centered at 150, and here it's going to be centered a little bit to the right and a little bit lower. All right, and then the reason the draw stars looks so much more complicated is because these stars now are all drawn relative to the current X and Y location. So for example, when we go print the word excellent, we're going to send 150 and 150 for X and Y. So we want this first star to be, this is the XY locations now, right? A little bit to the left and a little bit above. The second star is the same exact X, in other words, directly up, and a little further above. And then the last star is a little bit to the right and a little bit above. And that's exactly what will happen here. So we'll get 2 of those because we had 2 different function calls. All right, the last example here takes this just one more step and allows you to essentially make like a stamping tool from this function. In other words, instead of hard coding 150 and 150, or this other one 250, 350, instead of hard coding those XY locations, we'll just let you use the mouse to specify what location. So in this last version, same program, but we're going to wrap the draw message function, instead of having it appear like that, now it's going to be called whenever you press the mouse. And instead of specifying an XY location, we're going to send, or that is pass along, the current mouse location. So now, these other functions are the same. They haven't changed really at all. All we've done is change this guy right here and put it inside of an on mouse press. So the action, as you would expect, wherever I click the mouse, that location right there, 9752, is mouse X and mouse Y. And when I go into the draw message, that's the 97 and 52, 97 and 52, and we're calling the draw stars method with 97 and 52. And then we actually draw those stars in those corresponding positions, up above the label. All right, so you've now seen the major ways that we're going to use these functions. And in this one, they're drawing attention to an important idea, and that is parameters are only local to the function that they're in. In other words, when I call the draw stars method right here, draw stars better have 2 parameters in it because I'm sending along 2 bits of information. In other words, this function definition is missing X and Y. You might think that whatever X and Y is here in the draw message function, we'll just sort of automatically know what it is in the draw stars function, and that is not true. So let me say it this way. This chunk of code here is part of the draw stars method. If you create or change or update any variables in this chunk of code, they have nothing to do with anything going on here. Let's say it a different way. Watch this carefully, please. The values 150 and 150 replace X and Y here. So X equals 150 and Y equals 150. When we call the draw stars method, we send a copy of X and Y in here. So this needs an X comma Y. So if I change X and Y here, if I say X equals X plus 1, that doesn't change the value of x here or here, because it's a totally different function. So to say this yet again a different way, all these parameter values become local variables that are only known to this function. All right. So in the next video, I'll walk us through a few of these exercises. I'll see you there.